All right, let's get started. Thank you, everyone. And we would like to give a very warm welcome to each and every one of you joining us today for this highly anticipated webinar What's New in Business Central 2023 Wave 1 release coming in April. We are absolutely delighted to have you all here with us, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedules to explore the latest innovations in this ever evolving landscape of business management solutions, particularly Business Central and Power Platform. As we navigate the dynamic world of business and technology, it is essential to stay informed and updated with the newest advancements and trends. So today, we have gathered to discuss the upcoming release of Business Central 2023 Wave 1, a transformative solution designed to empower organizations to excel in their respective industries. Our expert panelists will provide valuable insights into the new features, enhancements, and capabilities that this release has to offer. So together, we will dive deep into the realm of business management and explore the ways in which Business Central 2023 Wave 1 can revolutionize your operations, streamline your processes, and drive your organization towards success. We encourage you to engage with our panelists, ask questions, and share your thoughts on how these updates can positively impact your business. So without further ado, let's get started on this exciting and exceptional features and possibilities that's in Business Central 2023 Wave 1. Thank you once again for joining us today, and we hope that this webinar proves to be an enlightening and enriching experience for all. So a few things to note. As any webinar, we want to make sure that we have an agenda. So again, focusing on the Dynamics 365 space, Business Central, we'll cover a little bit of the platform, Power Platform, and Power BI as well. So the presentations we'll cover, I'll start first, and I'll cover the application and user experience, followed by Brad, who will talk about the development side and what's new there. Then followed by Ryan, talk about the new things about Power BI. If you are not using Power BI, you may want to consider based on a lot of the new cool features that are coming up. And then, of course, with Carlos, that will be discussing the Power Platform. As you may or may not know, Power Platform is becoming sort of a must-have in a lot of organizations because it integrates a lot of those things and make things more autonomous and workflow automations and things like that. And if we have time at the very end, I hope we do. We do encourage. We'll do a Q&A, and hopefully we can answer a lot of your questions as well. So I'll start first. My name is Christopher Rigueras. I am the VP of Operations here at Tagunia, and I'm super excited where Business Central is going. So there are a few things I'm going to be covering here, demos and some highlights. So let's talk about the demo, which I'll cover here. I will talk about the drag and drop files and what that looks like. Analyze page lists. Super excited about that. Undo transfer shipments. Just quickly show you how that looks like. We'll quickly talk about the sync master data across companies, and I'll show you how to enable that, especially if you have multiple companies or entities within your Business Central and you want to synchronize those master records between all your companies. And a few highlights that I won't have a chance to share or demo. One is post multiple transfer orders at the same time. Use Power Automate to post adaptive card or link to Business Central record. At this time, it's only available for Business Central online. So that's actually very exciting as well. Add existing table fields to optimize your pages. So in the past, if you're in Nav right now, and even if you're in Business Central, in the upcoming release, you can add those extra existing table fields to pages. You no longer need a developer to go ahead and expose that for you so that then you can, pull it into the page. So that's super exciting because, you can do that now without having to wait for a developer to do that. And then last but not least, and certainly, again, there's a lot of things we have to cover. We'll give the link at the very end and to see the full list of the whole upcoming release. And in the last bullet point I have here is the avoid document number errors when you post item journals. This is particular on the document number. If you don't want to repeat the documents, document number, you can renumber them directly from the item journal. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and share my Business Central, and let's get started. All right, so the drag and drop file very quickly here it's fairly simple. So what I'm going to do is navigate to any record within Business Central, whether that's a posted sales invoice, sales order, purchase order, anything where you can typically attach a document. So let's say, for example, I open a transfer order, and from that transfer order, I may want to do an attachment, or even from a customer card, you want to attach a contract. So from the attachment fact box, I'll drill down into the documents here. Right now I have 0. I can go ahead and attach the file. Now before, you'd have to navigate through the Windows Explorer, and then it can take a little bit of time because now you got to find it. What's cool about this now is that you can click here, and you can just drag the file over. So I can go ahead and just drag it over, and it's going to allow me to attach here. It looks like it attach an image for me, so I can drag and drop. Now, one thing to note is that someone had asked me this the other day, but if you try to drag 2 files or more at a time, it's not going to allow you. So right at this moment, it's going to limit you with just 1 file at a time. So I just want to point that out because I'm pretty sure someone had that question, and I've been asked about that as well. So that's the drag and drop file. All right, so the next one I'm going to cover is the analyze page list. So I think this is probably one of the most exciting new features that's coming to Business Central. And if you recall back then, if your Nav or Business Central always contains a lot of information about your business. And a lot of times from a list of transactional records, as an example, let's say, for example, the general ledger entries. Typically, when you need to analyze something out of that record, out of that table, you'd have to export to Excel and do it that way. And anytime that you need to analyze again, you have to redo your filters, or maybe go back to that table and export it again and redo your entire analyze, or maybe drop it to your last Excel file. So with this new feature, the ability to analyze your record and use pivot table directly from Business Central is amazing. So I'm super excited about this. And so if we navigate, for a good example is general ledger set entries, like I mentioned. So if I navigate to general ledger entries, you'll see that there is now a button called here Analyze. And so what this does for you is to be able to look at all your records here and be able to slice and dice the data directly in Business Central without having to do the export and all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is toggle this button here and Analyze. And as you can see, I've already done two of my analytics here, but you can create a brand new one. So if I click the plus, here's my brand new analysis, and I can quickly choose the columns that I need and remove any columns that I don't need. So for example, I want to remove all these columns because I don't need this, and maybe keep amount. I don't need these guys, right? And I really don't need external document either because I'm analyzing data. And so this is my view. There's my my values that I need, the amount, the debit, all this stuff. I can now go into pivot mode, but before I do that, I can also set my filters. So for example, if I need to filter some records, I can click on my analysis filters, maybe set my posting range. I can also specify maybe anything you could think of, maybe anything greater than or less than dollar amount. I can set by general posting group, maybe just do sale, right? And purchase, and everything I can ignore. So I can set and pre-filter directly from here. And then now going back to the columns, I can quickly go ahead and do a pivot table. And now notice before I go into that, pivot table, notice there's also rows here too. So I can go ahead and quickly drag that row down. So if I want to, have a row of document type, I can go ahead and just drag that down here. And there you go. Those are my document type row. I can also expand beyond that too. So maybe if I want to bring in additional information too. Okay. Now here's the fun part is the pivot table. So if I turn this on, I can now start slicing data. So I can start adding row records. I can start adding column. So for example, if I want to pull in department, I can go ahead and pull that down to my column. So you can see my sales. Looks like I have that probably because of my filter. So let me remove my filter, which is right here. And let's just pull everything. Now I can see a little bit more information, and I can go ahead and even move that, maybe add document number to my rows. So I can see the document number associated to that document type, right? So once you're done and you have the view, the analytical view that you need, I can go ahead and rename this, and then maybe just set as, doc type. Okay. And there's my document type filtered right here for my analytical view. I can also duplicate this too. So if, let's say this is my baseline, I need to be able to, add maybe additional filters, maybe remove document number, and maybe I just want to put the GL account, and I can go ahead and pull that in as well. So that's my view. I can rename this and maybe add doc type and GL account. Oh, I can't do periods and slashes. GL, yep, there you go. All right. So that's how quickly and easy you can start analyzing your data. So if you take a look at my other ones, you'll notice that I have some customer groups here broken down. This is my column. I can remove some of these columns I don't need. So, because maybe I don't care for those. And I can also look at all the records under those customer group. So again, super exciting. There's a lot of things that you can do here regarding this particular feature. I hope that you guys are excited about this, because we certainly are very excited about what's the capability. Now, the last thing I want to point out is that you can still export this into Excel as well. So if you right click anywhere here, you have the option to export to CSV or Excel. At this point in time, you can email it and send it to whomever. The cool thing again about this is that if you, move out of that and then get back into the general ledger entry, it does retain all my analytical view here. So there's the two that we just did, and here's the two that I did previously. And so I have the ability to see that. Customer ledger entry is also fun to do that as well from maybe a sales perspective. And I can go ahead and navigate to sales. And here's a few already that I did for customer ledger. I filtered it by medium customer posting group, and then give me the list of customers that fell under the customer group in there. So I can go ahead and take a look at what I have there. You can also see the filter. If I had any filters in here, you'd be able to see that. I also did a filter for anything remaining amount greater than 0. So I have my filters there for customers that has anything greater than 0, and of course another customer group record as well. So these are my customers that are considered as medium and small and large, and I saved it, and I can come back to it later and see the changes, and I can export. And so quick, you can create and analyze your data so quickly from here. So super excited about that. Now I do have to jump into the other two that I want to cover as well, which is the undo transfer shipment. So what I'm going to do is navigate to a transfer order. All right, I have this transfer order that I released here, and I am ready to ship. And one of the things is that, let's say, for example, I went to go ahead and posted this this transfer order as is. So 2 and 5, I'll post it. And realizing that, hey, I made a mistake. I didn't mean to ship all 7 of these items, 2 of these items, 7 of them of the same item, and I need to go, bring it back. And I only meant to send 1 and maybe 3 on the second line. So what you could do is navigate to posted transfer shipment. Now, before, you typically have to just receive the whole thing on the other end, make your adjustments at that point. But you can now undo that transfer shipment. So I can navigate to that posted transfer shipment here, and I saw there's 2. And let's say I need to make an adjustment and do a return. I got to return the whole thing, or maybe just do 5, right? So whatever that scenario looks like, and I need to just undo and redo the whole thing. Maybe 2 is good. Maybe I didn't mean to send all 5. I just need to send like 3 instead of 5. So I can highlight that particular line that I need to undo, and I click undo shipment. All right, so there's my undo shipment for that particular line while retaining the other 2. Now, one thing to note is that when you make your correction on the transfer order, it will create a brand new transfer document. So this basically makes the 0, and then you have just your 2. So notice that. Back to my transfer order. Notice that it returned my 5, but kept my 2. So I can go ahead and make the correction that I need. Like I said, I may just have needed 3, and I'll go ahead and post this ship here. And there you go. So I'm left with 2 as ship 3. I can confirm on the posted transfer shipment. Here's my latest record, and there's the 3 I have right there. All right. So last that I want to cover and highlight is the ability to sync master records across your companies. And so that setup is pretty straightforward, believe it or not. So if I navigate to data management, you'll find there is a master data management setup. So I click on this. Before you enable the synchronization, or when you enable synchronization, please choose the right tables. You may not want to transfer every single master record. You may just want to focus on maybe items or chart of accounts or whatever that looks like. You want to choose which table you want to synchronize. The source company is of course, the primary company that that's going to maintain that master record. So in this case, I can go ahead and synchronize the table, choose the table that I want. Of course, you can add additional tables too. Just FYI, these kind of the standard ones that came with it. So for example, customer here, I have a customer synchronized. These are the date, the last time it synchronized. I can also set filters as well. So maybe customers that are blocked or not blocked. So whatever that filter looks like for you, you set your filter and then go ahead and synchronize. So you can also set this to synchronize modified records only, so you're not having to synchronize every single table each time. So that is an option. But if it's your first time doing this, you would want to synchronize all the tables. So you can start the initial synchronization. What this does is it creates a job queue within Business Central for each table that you're synchronizing. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So we have all those tables being synchronized. And if I navigate to job queues, and the cool thing is when you're creating this, it actually puts the job queue on hold. So you'll notice that all of these stuff are on hold, and you will see that customer has its own, let me make that larger here. Customer has its own line for the job queue. So I can go ahead and set the status to ready, and it's going to based on your schedule, it would go ahead and synchronize. So now right here at the bottom, it's ready. So whatever the schedule is going to synchronize. The reason why they did this is because you're having the right record across companies, and so you may want to schedule this accordingly. So with that, This is super fun. You can analyze this too if you want. I don't know why you would, but hey, analyze is there. Like I said, analyze page list is virtually pretty much any list tables that's available that you can analyze. So super, super exciting. And with that, I appreciate your time. I'm going to pass it down to my colleague Brad to talk about development. Brad.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you for sharing some of those application updates to Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. As we have been discussing, with each update of Business Central, Microsoft enhances the base application and the development environment. These enhancements allow Business Central developers to create and architect solutions in the Run Anywhere world of Business Central. Business Central 2023 Wave 1 has several exciting new features in the development environment. Microsoft's published list of enhancements to the development environment is listed here on this slide. There are 9 features on the list at the time of this webinar, and I could spend an entire hour talking about each of these exciting enhancements, but there are other areas to cover outside of the development. Therefore, today I will highlight just a few of the new development features in Business Central 2023 Wave 1. The first development enhancement I'd like to review is the AL Explorer and AL Home in Visual Studio Code for the AL extension. The AL Explorer is a new tool that allows developers and technical consultants to better understand objects and extensions without having to look at the code. With this tool, developers can explore and navigate object details, dependencies, and extension points, increasing productivity and allowing technical consultants to understand high-level extension structure. The AL Explorer also sets the foundation for future visual editors that can further improve productivity and lower ramp-up time for new developers. The AL Explorer lists objects includes in the base application and those in the open project or workspace. The new AL Explorer closely resembles the object designer of the old CAL days. Furthermore, the AL Explorer empowers technical consultants to perform mockups and light modifications to Business Central without working directly in the code. They can still be part of integrated CI/CD processes, including pro-developer reviews, approvals, and automated tests and deployment. This tool offers developers and technical consultants an excellent opportunity to enhance daily productivity. It sets a path towards a more efficient and effective way of developing and maintaining extensions in Business Central. With the release of version 11 of the AL runtime, the AL Explorer tab is now visible and available within your VS Code environment. Using the AL Explorer, it's easy to obtain an overview of all the objects within a particular application scope. You can see the objects within an entire workspace, project, including the base application. Additionally, you can search for objects by name, number, and categorize them by type. Let's take a look at the AL Explorer within Visual Studio Code. With the AL Explorer, we can sort our objects by clicking on the column headings. We can sort them by type, ID, name, subtype, or module. We can also filter the objects by typing in the name or the number. Objects may also be grouped by type, module, or other pieces of information. When working with multiple applications or projects, you may also filter and see which objects are part of a module or group. Multiple types of filters can be applied to further assist in navigating. You can easily filter objects by the type of project, workspace, or module. AL Explorer also allows us to access the events, APIs, and extensible enums within your object set. This is an excellent resource for developers working with their own or other applications. You can also jump to if you need to develop and read or comprehend the selected object source code or add a breakpoint for troubleshooting. A developer may also bookmark frequently used objects to conveniently filter a list of objects to show only the bookmarked ones, which is especially helpful when switching between the ones you are currently working on and a known set. With the introduction of the new AL Home startup page, Business Central R&D now has a more efficient communication channel to share news, best practices, upcoming events, urgent information, status updates, learning content, and other pieces of data to all users of the AL Visual Studio Code extension. The AL starter page, which is visible on the screen, is visible by default with the runtime version 11 of the VS Code AL extension. When working with runtime version 11 of the AL extension, if you do not see the AL Explorer or AL Home tab in your environment, and you would like to make them visible, two new AL commands were made part of the runtime. The commands are AL Home and AL Explorer. The next feature I'd like to discuss on this webinar is the ability to provide title and custom actions on error dialogues. To assist users in better dealing with errors encountered while using Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, a new feature was added that enables developers to allow users to select an appropriate corrective action when an error occurs. It improves the clarity of an error message, and it's essential in instilling confidence in a Business Central user while streamlining the process of correcting common problems. Now, developers can enhance issue descriptions by setting the title property on an error dialog presented to the user. Moreover, by utilizing the error info object, developers can include up to 3 customized actions on the error dialog to provide corrective measures to the user. This can be accomplished by invoking the add action method on the error info object, which can then be transmitted to AL methods that support error info, including error, test field, field error, and other methods. The error info object also has a number of properties that enhance telemetry information. An add action method has been added to the error info data type, which you can specify the code unit that you would use for processing, which allows you to have centralized error management, as well as the method name within the code unit that would be called by the action that the user clicks on the dialog. Before 2023 Wave 1, developers had limited options for error resolution scenarios within their extensions. Often, users were presented with error messages that were difficult to understand or had to determine the action necessary to remedy the error. Listed on the screen now is an example of how a developer could use the error info object to enhance the user's experience when dealing with errors. As the example shows, a developer can provide the user with a more valuable and meaningful error dialog. A developer can present a meaningful title for the error dialog and a descriptive message to the user. Users may be presented with up to 3 custom actions with the new add action method on the error dialog. These actions are methods that a developer creates in a referenced code unit. A developer now has a better option for guiding the user to resolve the error's cause. Say goodbye to those difficult error messages and hello to a better user experience when working with errors. In addition to the previously discussed items, another new development feature that I am excited about, which has been added to the AL Runtime version 11 from Microsoft Dynamics Business Central 2023 Wave 1, is the ability to now attach the AL debugger to an active session. In any development environment, debugging is one part of the development lifecycle. Developing an AL for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central is no different. Before discussing the feature, I want to briefly explain debugging to everyone. Debugging is finding and resolving errors or defects within a computer program. Debugging aims to identify and fix bugs, issues, or problems that prevent the program from functioning as intended. Debugging is an essential part of the software development process as it ensures that the program is working correctly and meets the requirements of the end user. Currently, AL developers can debug code execution in Business Central by attaching a session to a specified server and awaiting a process that triggers a breakpoint or an error. Then, the developer can start debugging at the place of the code which triggered by a breakpoint or generates the error. To activate this attach functionality, a new configuration is created in the launch.json file. This configuration comes in 2 flavors: attached to the next client on the Cloud Sandbox and attach to the next client on your server. If you want to attach to a cloud session, you use the first option. If you're going to attach to a local server, you attach using the second option. In the attach configuration, the break on next setting specifies the next client to break on when the debugging session starts and allows only one option. The available options are web server client, web client, or background. The example below illustrates a configuration for a local server. Starting with Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central 2023 Wave 1, two new settings, user ID and session ID, were added to the launch.json configuration, allowing you to specify a session ID or user ID that you would like to attach to. The session ID allows you to connect to an existing session, or the user ID allows you to the next session for that user. These new settings allow the standard AL debugger to connect to a currently running session or the next session for the specific user. This feature will save developers much time when debugging and working with users to remedy issues or trace code execution. I would enjoy covering additional development features in this webinar. Unfortunately, due to time restrictions, I must stop here. You can find more information on these and other development enhancements for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central 2023 Wave 1 on the Microsoft Learn website. As with each release, I look forward to the upcoming development and application features released in Business Central 2023 Wave 2. If you have any questions or want to learn more about Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central or any of the new features in 2023 Wave 1, please don't hesitate to contact us here at Tagunya. With that, I want to turn it over to Ryan to talk more about what's new with business intelligence.
Okay, thanks, Brad, and thanks everyone else in attendance today. I'm going to cover some of the exciting updates coming out with Power BI in 2023 Wave 1. From new formatting and visualization options, improved security features, editing capabilities, these new updates will help you work more efficiently and effectively with your data inside of Power BI. So let's get started. So first, let's take a quick look at the features that I'll be covering here. The first two being for Power BI Premium, the last 6 being for Power BI Pro. Note that a lot of these are listed as preview. That means they'll be coming out for public preview, not necessarily in the general release. Also note that these are slated for Q3, Q4 release, so unfortunately we might not get our hands on these too soon. First up is a new feature applied to paginated reports that will greatly enhance the experience and capability of Power BI. Email subscriptions for paginated reports can now be burst out, which means that each recipient will receive an individual copy of the report. This will allow users to specify parameters that should be applied for each recipient of an email subscription for all paginated reports that use parameters to filter data. Right? This gives you flexibility and customization options for subscriptions that we haven't had before, allowing us to tailor them for the specific needs of each recipient. If you will, think about like your salesperson report, where you want every salesperson to have a different slate of data, a different set of customers, a different region, what have you, right? Along with this comes a neat mapping feature that allows us to define a mapping between recipients and a single or multiple parameters, so we can tie it to a region, an area, a location, a salesperson, you name it, right? This is batch reporting. This is something we've been looking for in Power BI. This is one of the things I've been waiting for, and I am excited. It's behind Power BI Premium, but that is very affordable now with Power BI Premium per user at $20 per user per month. So if you haven't taken a look at what's available with that, I recommend you definitely doing that. Moving on, as most of you are likely aware, maintaining a high user base is it's an issue when you're working with a large data set. Finding a balance between quick query response to the user request and preserving data integrity can sometimes be a challenge, right? Quite commonly, the more users we add, the more data that's accumulated, it equates to a slower query response and a higher likelihood of data integrity issues, or, the report is wrong type of events. With the right approach, we can strike a balance though, and we can give our users a very smooth experience. Introducing Power BI Premium's ability for user query balancing. This eliminates the previous method of manual balancing, which is difficult and a burden, right? But allows us to basically scale out query handling automatically with the use of Power BI Premium. If you want to guarantee high user concurrency that provides a top-notch experience, a fast response, a quick report, and correct data, Power BI Premium is the way to go, and this is one of the features that is leading the reasons behind it. This is going to be a really neat thing for big data, large companies, things that run long. User query balancing will make it so that you're not all stuck with the same response, right? One large report doesn't make it so that everybody else suffers. Next up, moving into the Power BI Pro features, and one of the more exciting features that's coming up with this Wave 1 update is a further integration between Power BI and Teams in the form of a Teams meetings integration. By including Power BI in your Teams meetings now, you can collaborate and discuss data in real time with your colleagues. It shall make a simpler user experience for your coworkers to communicate with. You'll be able to find relevant data that helps them achieve their goals right inside of the meeting. The nice thing about this is that when a user joins a meeting that has Power BI integrated, we'll be able to give them the ability to take advantage of the features inside of that report quickly and without having to know where everything's at, without necessarily needing to go through any extra steps. We can tailor the meeting experience for our audience. We can tailor reports for that meeting. If you think about your quarterly business reviews and things of those natures, you could have your Power BI decks embedded inside of the meeting. Everyone would have it there, and no longer would you have to explain to every other user how to get to the report. It's going to be right there, part of your meeting. Another essential feature that's coming out with this Wave 1 set of updates is in the form of sensitivity labels. And albeit it might not be an exciting thing for some, for the data nerd in all of us that are on this call, this is essential. This is going to make it allowing us to safeguard data between Azure to Office to Power BI, so we can actually set up labels on our data inside of Power BI Desktop and in the Power BI service. We can ensure that our user groups are connected to various sensitivity labels then, and it'll allow us to basically apply sensitivity label security to a variety of reports and data sets. The benefit of this is that no longer are we going to have to add a level of control over every single report. We can actually set that level of control over sensitivity labels. So if you've had to go down that path of specific user access to reports, it can be quite a burden, and then to have to know you have to do it on every single report, it adds it that much over, right, tenfold or whatever the case may be. This makes it so we don't have to do that. We can set up sensitivity labels on a report, and by the very nature of it, once we publish that up to the Power BI service, it will take on the permissions that have already been assigned to that label, right? So new reports, new financial reports, you just apply the right financial label on there, presto changeo, all of the security is applied to it as soon as you've published it up to the service. Pretty stinking cool. Along with the Wave 1 set of updates in September of this year, we'll be getting some improved visual formatting capabilities. Now, we have no real visibility into what that actually means. Yep, So what we do know is that it's going to give us the ability to set some of those core things from a more overarching capacity, kind of like themes, it almost sounds like, but you can kind of set a best practice or a, like your company standards for padding and margins or text and stuff like that. So we'll see what this one looks like, but from the verbiage that's behind it, I'm excited to see this. I think this is an answer to what some of the community has been asking for, which is a simpler way of making more of your reports look and feel like they belong together. And they are also going to bring in some more AI functionality into Power BI. So we have some limited AI functionality in there right now, but there's a new quick create process that is coming out in September that's going to give us a neat way of exploring data within the Power BI focus mode of any visual. From the sounds of it, this will be available to our users as well as our report developers. And anytime we focus in on a visual, the whole AI quick create process is going to kind of kick in and start kind of uncovering some different looks and feels to what you might have on that chart. So we'll see exactly what that looks like, but it's exciting. AI coming to more parts of Power BI. For the teams of folks that are working in Power BI, where you have multiple designers, perhaps working in a different environment or different, different locations, this feature here is going to be a game changer. Everyone's going to love this. So no longer are you going to have all of those reports locally on your drive to be able to work on them inside of Power BI Desktop. With the help of this functionality, Power BI Desktop users will be able to actually access and interact with the files that we have out in the Power BI service. This means that we'll be able to, see everything that's been published up to the Power BI service. We'll be able to work on it, so we can just open it from Power BI Desktop, effectively open it, right? And it'll download it from the service, pull it in, and allow us to start working on it right there. Prior to this, we had to go out to the site, manually update and pull down the file, and then once you've downloaded it from the service, then you could open it up in Power BI Desktop, right? So that's gone. This is a complete ease of use upgrade. This is going to make it so that teams can work better together, and you won't have the whole different versions of things on different people's computers, because you're kind of working from almost a cloud repository. So we'll see how that all deploys out, but the essential idea is your files, your PBX files, will effectively just be living out in the Power BI service, and you no longer have to have them directly on your machine. So that's very cool and a very great ease of use benefit for large teams. Lastly, the improved table relation editor that they're bringing in April is going to be something that's revolutionary for data modeling. This is going to update how we can adjust the relationships between tables. It's going to make things a lot quicker and more effective than ever before. What's really great about this is that this new experience uses fewer resources because it sends fewer requests back to your databases and files. So the way it does that is it only validates the log when changes are made. It doesn't need to load a preview of anything. And so the very nature of that, it's going to lend itself to bigger data models very well. They'll benefit the most of it, but everyone's going to be able to benefit from this because it's a simpler way of joining your tables. Along with this, it is coming along with a way that we can set several relationships at the same time, right? So if we wanted to update, say, a single table's relationship to multiples, we can do that all in one fell swoop. So in conclusion, the new features and improvements coming out with the Power BI feature set in 2023 Wave 1 are sure to enhance some user experience and make your working with the tool even more efficient. The improved formatting and visualization options, security features, editing capabilities, all of it. Power BI really does continue to evolve and innovate to meet the changing needs of its users. So I now want to hand over this to Carlos, who will provide some additional insights into the Power Platform and help you make some better use of what's coming out with that in 2023 Wave 1. So, Carlos, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Now we are going to review what's new for the Power Platform in the 2023 release Wave 1. We are going to focus on the updates for Power Automate. Power Automate is investing in three areas as part of this release: driving organization-wide low-code adoption, achieving experience excellence, and enabling flagship solutions with high scale. Using state-of-the-art AI models like GPT-3, Power Automate can take natural language as input to create flows. You can use natural language to describe the cloud flow that you want, and Power Automate will create it based on your written description of the scenario to automate. This feature makes it easier for you to build different types of automation faster, allowing a broader population of business users to use Power Automate in a truly no-code experience. In this example, I'm going to start building a flow using the option Describe it to design it. This flow creation experience is built on a machine learning model called OpenAI Codex, which is a descendant of GPT-3. Its training data contains both natural language and a large amount of sample cloud flows. This experience uses GPT-3 as a foundation to understand a natural language prompt and generate a working cloud flow. On the left side, you see the Power Automate connectors available for this functionality. And on the right side, you see the prompt bar and some initial suggestions. I'm going to start typing something. So, if, for example, if I start creating or typing the word create, then I'm going to get some suggestions, and then I'm going to pick one of these, create a new task in Planner when a new response is received in Microsoft form survey. And then I get a suggested flow that includes the trigger and the actions that are necessary to make the flow work. So if I continue here with the next button, this is going to show me the connectors that are necessary for the actions to work. So I'm gonna approve. I already have ready the connectors validated and authenticated. And then the next part is to provide certain parameters that are necessary for the flow. In this case, I need to specify what is the form that is going to be getting the responses. And also I'm going to select the options for the different steps. So from here, I just can start creating the flow. I can add or remove steps as necessary. And then this is going to be a great starting point. By May 2023, a new version of this functionality will be released that allows Power Automate to understand the parameters needed by the flow. So it's going to help you with the fill out of some of these information of these parameters, and then it's going to make it even smoother for the next release. The next functionality that we are going to discuss is the generation of expressions from examples in Power Automate. Power Automate has a rich expression language that you can use to format the different values within your cloud flows. However, finding the appropriate expression to use can be time consuming, particularly for new users. To address this, Microsoft is introducing Format by Examples. With this functionality, you can show Power Automate an example of a value that you want to format and the desired output, and Power Automate will suggest the appropriate expression to use. With this feature, you can easily format dates, numbers, and texts. In this example, we are going to start with a Power Automate flow that is capturing a response from Microsoft Forms and then is creating a task in Planner and then posting a message in a Teams channel. As you can see here in when we come here to the step where we post the message, we can insert dynamic values that are coming from the different steps that have previously taken place in the Power Automate flow. What we want to put here is a text that contains a date that has been included in the form that we are capturing. So what we're doing is we're gonna go in next to dynamic content, select the option for expression, and there we are going to have the option to format data by examples. So when we click here, we're going to see all the fields that can be formatted with this functionality. So it can be from the task or from the response details. In the response details, I have a date here that is the estimated start date that we're capturing from the form. So I'm going to select that field. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide an example of how this information is captured on the form. That is going to be the month, the day, and the year. And then what I want to do here is to say how I want to include this in the message. In this case, I'm going to type November. As you can see, I can get some transformations. So it's going to be November the 5th, 2023. And we have different options that we can select from. I'm going to go with the first one. And then this is how I want it as an example. And then I click here in get expression. So you can see here the suggested expression is this one. And then if I am happy with it, I just can click here apply. I'm gonna get a message that once I do this, I will have to use the expression editor to edit this further. And then I have here my expression that has been inserted inside the message with the desired format. The final feature that I want to discuss today is the definition of sequential approvals in Power Automate. With this feature, makers can define multiple levels in an approval flow in Microsoft Teams or Power Automate and assign who needs to approve them. The approval request goes to the next level after all the approvers in a previous level approve the flow. If someone rejects the flow at any level, it's considered rejected and it is not passed to subsequent levels. All approvers can see the history of the approvals at each stage and the outcome. The main difference between this new release and what is already available is that today we cannot define different levels for the approvers. You can have multiple approvers However, all of them are on the same level. So that is the main benefit of this release. That is what I wanted to cover today. Thank you very much. Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Carlos. And in our presenters, we hope that the insights and information shared during this event have provided you with a clear understanding of the exciting new features and enhancements introduced in the Business Central 2023 Wave 1 release.
Hey, Chris, wait. I know we don't have much more time left.
Okay.
But there is one more thing, and I'll keep it brief. In mid-March, Microsoft announced the public preview of Business Central with Copilot. AI has been all the buzz around the world lately, and Business Central Copilot is another tool that brings Azure OpenAI into Business Central. Copilot provides AI-generated text suggestions for items in Business Central, and it's intended for users who write marketing text for items to help them produce engaging and compelling content. There's some many benefits for using this tool. It decreases the time used on copywriting, which accelerates time to market for items being sold online. It unlocks creativity to provide more engaging product description and improves consistency of marketing materials for product lines. As with any AI-generated text, users should consider the text suggestions and review them and edit them for accuracy before making them or using them publicly. One thing to note, if you'd like to work with Copilot for Business Central 2023 Wave 1 Preview Edition, you first need to confirm that it's enabled in your environment. You can confirm that Copilot's enabled using Feature Management. You can find feature management by searching for feature management using the Tell Me search. From the list, select Feature Management from the administrative tasks, and on the Feature Management page, look for the Create AI-powered product descriptions with Copilot, which I have highlighted here. In the Enabled column 4, verify that all users is the value that's in the column. Let's do a quick walkthrough of filling out an item's marketing text using Copilot for Business Central 2023. I will log into my environment, and I have already confirmed that Copilot AI is enabled. I will go into my item list, and I will choose the Athens Desk item. On the item card over in the information panel, you can now see that there's a fact box for marketing text. On this fact box, you can see that there is a Create with Copilot or Edit option for editing the market text. You can also edit the market text by going through Related, Item, Other, Marketing Text. In this case, what I'll do is I'll click the Create with Copilot button, and now the system will go out to Azure OpenAI and generate a description for this item after analyzing the item information and item attributes. At this point, we can review and save this suggestion. So if we click on the Review and Save suggestion, it will pull up the box with the information that Copilot had created for our item. We can edit and make any necessary adjustments and then save this description. I must be truthful. One of the things I'm fascinated by as well is the editor that is now part of this Copilot area. In addition to the editing of the marketing text, there are more settings that you can use when you're generating your text. You can emphasize your tone of voice, the way you would like the text written, and you can also emphasize a quality for your item. When you're done editing your text, you can hit OK, and it is now saved with your item. This is the new Copilot feature for Microsoft Dynamics 2023 Wave 1, OpenAI, and the marketing text with Business Central.